Greetings, Screen Junkies News. Happy Moana Day. So excited because the Blu-ray hits stores today everywhere. I'm so honored because we have director, writer Jon Musker. Thank you for coming, Jon.
Yes, thank you. It's great to be here.
And producer Osnat Shurer. Thank you so much for being here as well.
Thank you for having
us.
us.
I love Moana. It's so fun. I want to talk about it. Let's get straight to it. But I mean, I've been also impressed. You guys packed us up with a bunch of stuff, including a short. I want to talk about this because I know that's sort of a thing. You would add more things to it, but this new Maui short sounds really fun. Is that something you do in advance, thinking about? How does the short end up making it in the movie?
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, in this case, this was something we developed originally as a trailer, and we loved it, and we were going down this road. We actually had partially animated it, and then we changed track for the trailer, and we thought, oh my gosh, we have this amazing stuff already animated. So we took it back into story, we expanded the story a little bit, and made it into a short for the DVD.
That's, I mean, so because my kid loves watching those, so it is sort of you're like Disney wisely, like, we have this, let's finish this,
right?
And fun
It's kind of a standalone thing, and it's fun. It's kind of a comedic little bit. It's a funny thing. It's got gags and things. And Eric Goldberg did some wonderful animation of the tattoo on Maui, and it's got fun stuff in the water as a character, and it says it is in the movie.
With Dwayne Johnson and with Ali Carvalho, our voice of Moana, and with the same
all the same animators, and you know, so it looks like out of the movie.
I love it. Jon, you've done so many amazing Disney films. I literally, you raised me in a way.
I know. I've heard that. I feel older and older, but yes, it's true. But you seem like a young enough guy that I'm not horrified by that. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Well, I'm just curious because, you know, like Hercules, Moana, tell me the process of doing more of a cultural myth or legend like this. Well, what goes into adapting that?
This one was in some ways the hardest one, the most challenging, because one of the early words as we developed this was my idea to do a movie set in the islands, you know, 5.5 years ago. I just thought it was a beautiful landscape. I'd never been there. I'd read books that were set there. I'd seen paintings and all that. We pitched. I then read Polynesian mythology and discovered this great world, and particularly this character of Maui, who was a shapeshifter, and he had a magical fishhook. And I'm like, why has this guy never been done in a movie before? And so I showed those to Ron Clements. We read the stories. We pitched it to Jon, and then he said, "You've got to do a lot of research. You got to dig deeper." And
got to go to whole islands.
So, it was hard.
So we went. We were forced, as we say, and people sometimes don't get our sarcasm. I'm being sarcastic, but we went to we went to Tahiti, we went to Samoa, we went to Fiji, Wahine, Moorea, Savai. We spent about 3 weeks there 5 years ago, and we did a deep dive into the culture. And then fortunately we met so many wonderful people. We kept them involved as kind of our oceanic story trust. As we made the movie, we would Skype with them. Sometimes they were out in California. We went back again sometimes, and we vetted, you know, both story ideas, design ideas, costumes, all sorts of things. And we made corrections, we made adjustments if things were like, no, you. And we had been advised about that by Joe Rohde, who's an Imagineer who worked on the Alani Resort at the beginning, who just said, you've really got to actively engage people. You can't just, you know, just sort of do here it is,
yeah,
there it goes.
You can't pay lip service
No,
to
you
it.
Really genuinely have to have them collaborate, not just consult.
And for us, we went even further. Our first writer on the film, Taika Waititi, is Maori. One of our songwriters, Opataya Fua'i, grew up in Samoa. He's from Tuvalu and Tokelau. Yeah. So it was a real collaboration for us.
Yeah. When you went and did your research to the islands and stuff, what was your biggest takeaway? Like, what had to be in the film?
Well, there were many takeaways. Certainly one of the biggest ones was we discovered how important their history of navigation was, that they were the world's first great navigators, that they did it by dead reckoning. They had no instruments, and they found their way all the way from, you know, the Western Pacific, you know, and New Guinea and that, and before that, all the way coming down from Taiwan, all the way across. But then there was a 1,000-year gap where they stopped voyaging when they settled around the area of Samoa, and we thought, and then they started up again. No one knows why they stopped. No one knows why they started. But we saw a couple of things. One, we wanted to build the movie around navigation because that's the thing they're proudest of. And two, we thought, can we use this 1,000-year gap in the story? So something Maui does causes it to stop, and something Moana does causes it to start again. But really, their connection to the ocean was something that we became intimately aware of when we did this trip. So we said, we've got to make the ocean a character. They talk about the ocean as if it were alive. They talk about the ocean as something that connects people, not separates them. They talked about knowing your mountain, that if you don't know where you came from, you don't know who you are or where you're going. All of these ideas changed our story completely. And really, Moana, the character, didn't come until after the trip. Once we made that trip, we said, it was Ron's idea, Ron Clements, my co-director, who said, what if we had a 16-year-old girl who had the blood of her ancient voyaging ancestors, but it's during this 1,000-year period, and she feels like that's what I should be doing, but we're not doing it right now. So that all grew out of that trip.
No, it's great. And to have such a strong female heroine that doesn't have the love story and all those things. I mean, was that? I guess there wasn't any pushback on that. It seems like
John Lasseter never pushed back. No one ever did. We never had a romance in the story, and we always saw it as a hero's journey.
Yeah, for us, it's literally a classic hero's journey movie, and she's the hero of the story. And it was very important to us from very early on to not make it about gender, to make it about a hero who has to set out and save her world. In this case, she's a female. We also wanted her to be strong and athletic and able to take care of business the way she does. It was all very important to us, and we kept it as
so
part
that
of
affected even her character design.
Absolutely.
I think Osnat was very big on that. Others were as well, to make her feel like she can physically do the amazing
and yet be gorgeous.
Feats we have her.
She's
and
stunning.
So she's beautiful, but she's not less beautiful, but she's powerful and strong and athletic. And I know Osnat's always talked about she loves when she sees these now little girls, 4 or 5 years old, but when they strike a Moana pose, it's a very active.
People are in the costume.
It's not like a girly.
It's not a little girly thing. It's like they're standing there strong and just looking straight at the camera and feeling empowered.
It's pretty
I love that.
It's pretty cool.
Well, on that topic, and maybe you can help settle something, because Disney has yet to confirm this, but from your own point of views, is Moana a Disney princess?
We kind of straddle on it. She is the daughter of a chief, which in some quarters would make her a princess, technically, but she doesn't like to limit herself in any way by any sort of definitions. And there's the very funny line that Jared Bush wrote in the movie where Maui's giving her a hard time and says, hey, if you wear a dress and you got an animal sidekick, you're a princess.
Yes.
And she's like, I'm not, And so I think in terms of the Disney family of princesses, I think Moana still sort of stands on her own a bit.
She stands on her own. We think of her more as a heroine than as a princess.
Do they need to change the princess name? Do they need to be Disney heroines?
Yeah, maybe that will come. Maybe you could start that movement.
Yeah, hey, you
right
guys
here.
start the movement. I mean, no offense to Disney princesses.
I agree.
No, we love Disney princesses.
And you created a great one with Ariel.
I know.
And we love a good romance, and it's not that. It's in this case, this story begged to be about this strong female character. And even though the movie is set 2,000 years ago, it feels very contemporary because of that.
Yeah, I mean, compared to Ariel, because Little Mermaid is one of my favorite Disney films, but the message is a little different she has to go get the prince right away. Different time, different place.
Well, it is a love at first sight story, which is a very fairy tale kind of thing. It's, kind of Romeo and Juliet that way. But we did actually, even at the time, we were trying to make Ariel be sort of a teenager of the day, and that she has issues with her parents, and she feels a little misunderstood, and she's kind of rebellious. And we really were trying to, and I think we did. We tried to make her own person, different than Snow White or Cinderella. But certainly there's a romance in the story. She winds up with a prince. We got, a little bit of a hard time in Denmark because we changed the ending of Hans Christian Andersen's story, which was a very tragic ending. She died at the end, and we said, well, what if we did a slight variation on that?
The Disney version.
Although it was bittersweet because she lived, but she had to sort of leave her family, so there was a cost to what she had done. But yeah, we've tried to make, but certainly as the world has evolved, so have we, and we've tried on every film to, whatever the hero or heroine is, how can we make them relatable, identifiable, and something. And in this case, I don't think even when we did Ariel, we thought the words role model never came up, I don't think necessarily. But on this movie, very early on, they did, and I think we're savvy enough now to know that she will be looked at that way. So I think we looked at her as we were developing. We're trying not to be precious about it, but we were aware that it does carry a lot of freight. With we are helping shape the minds and hearts of young boys and girls.
And her desires for Moana, she's setting out to save the world. She's not chasing some kind of what do I want for myself. She's going out to save her people
for her family,
and for her world, for her whole way of life, and that's also, I think, really important to us.
You brought up Jared, who we had on, wonderful guy.
Oh, yeah.
So funny. But he talked about the Pixar Trust, where you guys sometimes Pixar will have a a group of people who come check out your work, you check out their work.
We basically have our own story trust. So there's what's the brain trust at Pixar. We call it our story trust, and it's made up of all our directors and our writers, and we all help each other. There's a lot of work together. You get one opportunity to get a set of fresh eyes on it, which is the Pixar Trust. They're super smart. They get the same opportunity with us. And so we have to be very strategic. What is that point that we take it to them? Because you're going to get some interesting notes, and it was amazing.
It was a crazy thing on this one. They had a great note session with them, but it was weird because just because of the way the logistics work out, the screening that we were taking up to them, we had not yet shown to our own staff. Right. So it was a little awkward because we're showing them that yet we hadn't gotten our own staff. But a couple of things did come out that were good.
Wonderful ideas.
Yeah, good ideas. And Andrew Stanton had some great notes about just what we needed to set up at the beginning to make things pay off later and to get the story to get pulled through it. But one of the other notes we had, our our pig and our rooster in there, but we also had the ocean, and we had the little mini Maui character. And their advice to us was the pig and the rooster are great, but there's the ocean and that tattoo are so unique. Whenever you get a chance, play things to them and get more of them in it. So when we came back, we developed more things where they worked into the story, more reactions of the ocean and all that.
Also, a clear, to Andrew's note, a clear kind of opening to the film, this idea that we were trying to be subtle and keep things very kind of vague at the beginning, but just set up the world for us. It's a fairy tale convention. It's a mythology convention. Here's the bottom line. Guy went here, did what he did, and that started off the whole chain of events. And so we came back and created a very clear prologue.
Yeah, well, it's ironic. That note was coming very strongly from Andrew Sand, and it was an excellent note. He himself, I think, had gone through that on the original Finding Nemo, because the death, that whole death thing that sort of opens the movie
was going to come later.
Was going to come later, and there was a lot of sort of
which really does have that payoff. Yeah,
I know. And I think initially he was like, no, let's play it out later. Let's keep it as a mystery and unfold it and all that. And then I think it was no. We really need to. If we know that up front, then it'll make
when Marlin has to let Nemo go to the net.
Exactly. That big moment of like.
You find these things as you're making the movie, and it's a struggle. We had things like that too, where we had certain ideas that we liked that then, just as the story evolved, had to be changed. They didn't.
In fact, there were so many versions. We do 8 or 9 screenings, and we each time give ourselves notes. We do the voices, and a lot of those deleted scenes are actually on the DVD because we got the great joy of having so many revisions. Is that we got a lot of cool deleted scenes.
And when we do them, we're thinking they're in the movie. We're not doing them for the DVD. We're doing them for the movie, but the movie changes. So that's the nice thing, though. Now that they have DVDs with the bandwidth where we can put these scenes. So we have like a song that Lin Manuel wrote called Warrior Face, which was on the CD, I think. But here you get to actually see it visualized, how it was going to fit into the story. And it's Chris Williams storyboarded it, a great story artist and director.
And it's sung by Philippa Sue and Chris Jackson, two of the people from the Hamilton cast.
Who are fabulous.
All our demos were Hamilton cast.
Awesome. He was brought on before Hamilton.
He was.
Absolutely.
So you really lucked in on that.
Yes, we did. No, we were smart.
We met with him about 3 years ago in New York City, and we didn't even know anything about Hamilton. We knew In the Heights, and we knew his wonderful openings he had written for Neil Patrick Harris.
He told us he was working on this kind of hip-hop musical about the founding fathers for the public.
Yeah, I know.
Like, great, 2 months.
Good luck with that one, buddy. Yeah, it's like in 2 weeks from now when you're done, well, you can get serious about this movie.
Yeah. But it ended up a great relationship because our musicians were everywhere. There was Lin in Hamilton, so he would be in his dressing room all dressed as a founding father when we would meet daily, twice a week. And then Opataya was in New Zealand or somewhere in the islands, and Mark Mancino was in Northern California. We were in Burbank. We would all just meet through technology and got all those songs written. He
didn't get too big-headed. He kept to it. That's good.
Oh, he still is.
It was kind of an oasis for him because it was so insane, the whirlwind. He was in the middle of a tornado, but he was able to sort of step out of it to do Moana, where he was, I'm a songwriter and an important part of the process, but I'm out of the Hamilton madness for a bit. So I think it was kind of an airlock for him.
It was literally like we'd be working with him. He's on camera. And he's like, I got to take this call on him. Just won the Pulitzer. So where were we?
And that's true, really. That actually happened. It's insane. It was the craziest year in his life.
Maybe he'll have another one like that. And it was all this happened all at the same time.
He's at the White House and rapping with Obama. Freestyle.
So you have Lin Manuel-Miranda you're dealing with, but then you get The Rock, which is even crazy.
So for her as producer, she had the 2 hardest to schedule people in shows of business between Lin and The Rock. Dwayne lives in Florida. He was shooting his Ballers HBO series there, so we would fly to Florida to record him.
Or to wherever
but then he was also, he was shooting a movie in Boston.
Which he's always Instagramming every part of the process.
He walks in with this camera.
Lyrics from the songs.
Hey, we're here with Screen Junkies, and I'm here with that thing. And,
I'd be like, it'd be the end of the session. What are you doing on the phone there? What are you sharing? What are you sharing?
I know. He's compulsive there, but it's great. He had like 65 million followers or something.
Of
his closest personal friends.
And it's all real enthusiasm from him. He's just so excited and enthusiastic.
Was he nervous to sing?
No, he was all over it. He was really into it.
That was one of the lures for him, the idea that I'm going to get to sing something.
We heard him on some of the, at the end of the wrestling, in some of the cities, he would get on the stage with a guitar and sing one of those songs dissing the city he was in, kind of thing. And so we knew he could sing. He's got his own range and he's comfortable in it.
So
and Lin wrote to that.
Yeah, Lin wrote to that range.
He's a big fan.
So how high he goes, how low he goes, and use that whole range.
Well, Lin does the rap on the deluxe edition soundtrack. It's funny because that sounds very like he wrote.
I know. He wrote it in his own voice, certainly, but he wrote it knowing that The Rock was going to do it. And
he came and directed
it was
him.
a challenge,
We
just to do it at that speed. We did the song in sections, but that's all Dwayne singing. That's not a ringer.
He practiced. He took it as seriously as he takes everything else.
Have you guys met a harder worker? That guy doesn't stop.
He works so hard. He will come to a session and literally, because it was so hard to schedule, and we would do a full 6 hours of recording. If you've done this, 2 or 3 hours, people start slowing down. Not Dwayne. He was up for it, and we were doing hakas in Maui, and he was right there and willing to do everything.
He did have his mother coaching him at one of the sessions. Actually, I wasn't at, but Osnat could tell you about that.
Yeah, it was this great session. We were in Atlanta, and towards the end of the session, we were doing this haka that's near the end of the film where he's, like, okay, I don't have a hook, I don't have anything, just bring it on. And his mom kept correcting his pronunciation. She's Samoan, but she grew up in New Zealand with Maoris, and she corrected him a few times, and he was doing it each time. And then finally she corrected him one more time. He's like, Mom. It was one of my favorite Dwayne Johnson moments. Mom. Sweet.
That's adorable. I have one continuity question. Why didn't Pua the pig age?
Age?
Yeah. Well, it was right. And she's
well, no,
she's
but
not gone that long.
Is there a new pig?
No. You actually, but we see
3 pigs.
Well, in the early days, we had. You see Moana when she's like an 8-year-old in the movie, but you do not see the pig until she's 16. So really, it's only just the time of the voyage. But we did have a design for a little. If we had shown the pig,
in one of the
okay, there you go.
There's
scenes in there is when she meets him. So she sees this. She's on a boat with her dad. She's 8 years old, and there's these little piglets, and he's kind of the runt, and she's like, I gotta look after him.
Cuter,
and her dad
even babier.
Dad says, don't worry
even
about
cuter.
it. But then you cut to her.
It's a baby quote in these movies, right?
I know. You can't get much cuter than that.
And she, as a baby in this movie, I have to say, is one of the cutest toddlers we've ever designed.
Yeah, when we were animating, we really, a lot of the young animators, men and women, had little toddlers of their own. We said, really channel that, get that kind of off-balance walk they have, and that teetering and toddling around. So I'm really proud of the way that turned out. That it really feels relatable and identifiable.
I have a couple other quick, broader questions. I'm just curious, because I came back from Disneyland. Like, do you get to go in the Little Mermaid line always and skip the line? You get, like, is it like when you go to Disneyland?
Friggin' line just like everybody else.
That's not cool.
I know. It's terrible. Talk to someone, please.
I'll take care of it.
All right. Okay.
I'm curious, though, have you guys seen Beauty and the Beast, the live-action remake?
We have not. I've just seen the trailers.
It's really great.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
Did you like it? Did it turn out well?
Fantastic.
I've seen the trailers, and it looks cool, and I know some of the people that have worked on it, and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
Well, because I know you probably, I'm sure, can't say anything or don't even know, but I'm just curious because you've done so many movies. I think they're talking about maybe doing Aladdin.
Yeah,
is there one of your live-action films you would like to see?
Well, I don't know. I heard that, that they are possibly going to do Aladdin, and I've heard that they're a Little Mermaid as well, and that Lin might be involved, which sounds great. And then I even saw a rumor online, Damien Chazelle might, hey, wouldn't he be great to direct Little Mermaid? And actually, I think he would be great to direct Little Mermaid, but that would be kind of a fun team. I don't know. I mean, even this movie obviously could be an interesting one to do in live action. At first, I was a little more skeptical of the live action things. Like, if you just restate the movie, it's like, why do it? But I did like Maleficent, where they kind of took the movie but then did a twist on it. And I haven't seen Beauty, but I hope any of these, they kind of open it up and do something. They don't just restate the movie like, the Gus Van Sant Psycho with Vince Vaughn, where he took, shot for shot and did the movie. But if you take it a little different angle, I think it's cool. But I don't know, any of our movies would be intriguing to see. We are not really involved. They try and keep us as far away as possible from it. And,
barred from the set.
Because I could see Aladdin and both of those being good. Who would you do as the genie? What would you do if you were directing it?
I don't know. Well, it's a big hit Broadway show right now. It's actually on Broadway, the big hit Aladdin show in New York, in Australia, in London, in Tokyo. And they actually went back to Howard Ashman's original concept, because he was the guy that pitched Aladdin originally, and his concept for the genie was that he was African American. So there's a great actor on Broadway, James Iglehart, who plays him. He would be fabulous for the movie. There is no Robin Williams exactly, but James's approach has been fabulous. So I think there's a way to do it and not try and exactly channel Robin Williams. But the great thing with Robin was he was improv, and that in animation you can do improv because you animate after the voices are recorded. A lot of people think it's the other way around, but first you record the voice. So he could go to the moon, and we could find a way to visualize it. So
there is a lot of improv in Moana as well.
Yeah,
and Dwayne is amazingly good at it. And our young Ali Carvalho, all of 16 or 14 when we cast her and had not acted before, she was able to improvise as well. And a lot of who she is in the film.
I imagine some hey improvisations from
Alan
Tudyk went crazy with it.
Yeah, this Juilliard training came in handy as he found the deep inner life of the rooster.
He wrote a whole. How many times do you have to bring him in to do the clucking noises?
Just once. it was he had a whole aria of clucks that he could go through.
He just did a whole thing for a few hours.
Yes,
just every type of cluck you can
the
know
Cluckmeister. Yes.
Well, thank you guys for coming in. This is such a fun conversation. And guys, you can pick up Moana today in stores, on Blu-ray, digital, HD, DVD, the whole 9 yards.
Everything. See it in multi-formats and compare them all.
Yes. Get it for someone you love. Thanks for watching. You can click more for Screen Junkies News over here, over my shoulder. And thanks. Have a great day.